This is Texans TV.
Our very special guest is breaking down what the Texans ought to do at the Combine this week, and we're looking back at the Texans defense from 2019. Texans 360 starts now.
Rock and roll, touchdown, Texans. Luke with the catch. Oh my goodness.
Well, would you look at that? You know it's a huge show when Sean Pendergast, Sports Radio 610, and the Houston Press is here. It's good to see you, my friend Sean.
You too.
This is Texans 360. I'm your host, Drew Doherty. We've got a big show today. We're going beyond the boots. We got to look back at the 2019 community impact felt by the Houston Texans, made by the Houston Texans, and we're breaking down the defense. But we start things off, well, with the week to come, because the Combine is in Indianapolis. And in a little bit, you and I are going to go kind of more in depth on it. But this is a big week for what the Texans are looking to do as far as evaluating some of these guys coming into the NFL.
Yeah, and they don't have a first-round pick, so they've got to get the second-round pick right. You know, they've got a roster, Drew, right now that they have a bunch of guys that are probably going to be making a whole lot more money. The resources for this team, because of some of the moves they made last season, that most of which worked out, they knew this was coming. They're going to be working with fewer resources than they've been accustomed to working with over the last few years. So less cap space because of some of the extensions that are going to get given out, less draft capital at the top, obviously, without the first-round pick. So you got to treat this second-round pick, this 57th overall pick, like it's a first-round pick, and you got to get it right.
Got to get it right, and Texans have been drafting well as of late. And you mentioned the extensions. There was one signed this week by a Houston Texan, defensive lineman Brandon Dunn. He stays in the fold. He will be back in 2020, and that's a good thing for the defense up front. It's also a good thing for the locker room because his nickname is DJ Dunny. He's the guy that has the aux cord. He's always playing the good music, but the Texans keeping one of their own in the fold.
Yeah, it's good to see. My first thought when we found out that news was two things. One, good for him, good for Brandon Dunn. Really good, as you said, locker room guy. Really just sort of, solid. It definitely fits the mold of what Bill O'Brien likes. I'm sure we'll hear smart, tough, and dependable when Bill O'Brien gets asked about Brandon Dunn. My first thought was, what does this mean about DJ Reader? Is Brandon Dunn going to be viewed as maybe sort of a less expensive alternative to be one of the big? They obviously they both existed on that defensive line the last couple years, but how crucial did it feel to make sure, okay, we got Dunn locked up here, Angelo Blackson locked up, obviously some other pieces, and J.J. Watt is in a separate category. But what does this mean for DJ? Is this almost kind of a DJ Reader insurance policy here? Because that's really the contract on the defensive line that's going to get interesting.
Yes, and speaking of that defense, they had some moments in 2019, and it's now time to look back at some of them.
Here's the snap. Minshew looking. Here comes Merciless, and Whitney brings him down. The ball is out. Another scrum. The Texans say they have it, and they do! Here's the snap. Winston, quick throw left side. Intercepted at the 40-yard line. Jaleel Adai with the pick. The Texans have the ball at the 38 with 1:27 left, and the Bucs with only one timeout. Mahomes under center. Takes the handoff. They're max protecting. Amenahu, the ball is out. Big pass rush. Texans say they have it, and they have it. Houston recovers inside the 5. Strip sack. Brady gets the snap. He throws back to the left. It's picked off. Roby across the 20-15, cuts inside 10, and he's down inside the 6-yard line. Bradley Roby, welcome back to the lineup in a big, big way. First down for the Houston 35. Ryan throws downfield. It's picked up. Taken to his left, 40, 45, Gibson, 50, 45 of Atlanta, cuts to the right, the 40, the 30. He's running across the 20, the 10, the 5, pick 6. Icing on the cake. Allen stepping up. He fumbles the football. Martin has it for the Texans. at the 47-yard line. My goodness, a takeaway at a huge time to open the fourth quarter. Whitney Merciless forced a fumble. Martin cleaned it up, and the Texans have the ball at midfield.
This entire game has just flipped itself upside down.
Second down and 10 at the Buck 17. Winston under center with one back. Winston drops back, looking left, throws that way, and it's picked off by Roby across the 20, 15, 10, 5, and he walks in for the touchdown. Pick 6 to start the game for the Texans D. Here's the snap. Tannehill looking left, throws that way. It's tipped and picked off. And Whitney has it. He's running across the 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, right sideline, the 50. He's being chased. The 35, 30, 20, 15, 10, and knocked out near the 10-yard line as the Rock Boys celebrate the takeaway. On third down, he's got time, and he's sacked back at the 23-yard line by J.J. Watt. And the crowd erupts.
It's J.J. Watt. Torn pick, doesn't matter. My team needs a play, and I'm going to make it.
Jacksonville going for the lead right here from the 2-yard line. Handoff Fournette running left. And he stopped. Justin Reed got in there. The D stiffens on the 2-point conversion try. The Texans have the lead 13-12 with 30 seconds left.
Safety Justin Reed with the top play in 2019 on defense. You can see more stuff like that and more of that on HoustonTexans.com. And that's an example of a guy you mentioned earlier before we went to that video of the Texans needing to nail. They nailed it when they got him in the third round a couple years ago. Some pegged him as a first rounder. He goes out and has done what he's done the last 2 years. So with the combine this week in Indianapolis, good chance Texans are looking at pass rushers, good chance they're looking at cornerbacks, but they're evaluating everything. Yeah. With regards to those two positions, what do they need to get right?
Look, I think ultimately they're going to wind up filling their needs at the cornerback position via free agency, or maybe trying to keep Bradley Roby, I guess. They used a premium pick on Lonnie Johnson last year. I do think that edge rusher is going to be something they're going to be. If I had to bet my money on what they would take with that second round pick, I would bet edge rusher maybe before I bet cornerback. I also have as a wild card, I would like to see them take a look at some of the running backs in this draft,
it's a good draft
too.
for that,
Yeah, it's a good draft for running backs. I think this is an inexpensive way to kind of fill the running back position. You know, they got a little fortunate with what they got out of Carlos Hyde last year. But if they can get a guy who they feel like they can rely on, who can be a playmaker for them, and you've got him on a second-round rookie contract for 4 years with Deshaun Watson back there, I think that's something they should really look at. I'm just super intrigued. This is the first draft that's going to be a full-on Bill O'Brien draft.
Yeah.
So this is I'm highly intrigued by what the process is going to be.
And one thing we've seen with that process, with O'Brien doing things there at the GM position, we've seen aggressiveness.
Yeah.
For sure on the trade market. Haven't seen it yet all the way through, like you're mentioning in the draft. So it's like you say, it's going to be fun to see what happens. You know, on HoustonTexans.com earlier in the week, we had the mock draft survey. A little tougher to do when you compile all the mock drafts because less of them go into the second round. But based off of that mock draft survey, most of the experts have the Texans taking some help up front on the defensive side.
Yeah.
And it's a guy, they chose a guy out of Boise State who's a pass rusher. I don't know that most of the audience really knows, but
Right.
It's going to be fun to see what they do because who knows what's going to happen. I mean, what's the wheeling and dealing going to be like once draft weekend comes?
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how much maneuvering they do in the draft. Like, these are all things, I know Bill O'Brien's been involved in personnel because he says, I've been involved in personnel since I got here. But it's one thing to be involved in personnel from an evaluation standpoint or an input standpoint and be the guy who is having to think on your feet and make the moves leading up to the draft. I'll be really interested to see any sort of maneuvering that goes on in moving up and down. What do you give up to do that? How much do you chip into future drafts? Those are all the things I'm most intrigued to see with, in addition to the combine, with O'Brien, the whole process leading up and into and through the draft.
I can't wait. It's going to be fun. Draft season is upon us. Was it draft SZN? Is that what the kids do these days?
It's draft season is how I pronounce it.
Oh, okay.
SZN, draft season.
You learn new things all the time with this
that's
guy
how it's
riding shotgun. So back in 2011, the Texans had a choice to make at 11th overall. Defensive end, outside linebacker, corner. Well, they went with J.J. Watt.
These were actual scouts who wrote this about you. Read your profile, JJ1.
Won't consistently get the edge on tackles with his get off or quickness.
Torn pick, doesn't matter. My team needs a play, and I'm going to make it.
Lacks some lateral mobility, both rushing the passer and playing in space.
And Watt has him down for a sack. JJ doesn't.
He needs to gain some more weight to fill out and to continue to learn how to use his hands effectively.
He does it again. His third touchdown reception of the season.
He won't ever be a stud pass rusher.
Coming up, get a Cheerleaders inside look at tryouts. Stay tuned.
My boy D White in the Bentley truck. Oh yeah, I see you, boy. Hey, represent, baby. Yeah. Okay. Yo.
Welcome back to Texans 360, and no, that was not Sean Pendergast shooting that video of Deshaun Watson on stream.
I wish.
That's pretty fun. It just shows you the love this guy has from the fandom here.
Absolutely, man. King of the town.
King of the town.
Yeah.
So the Houston Texans cheerleaders, not the only ones that cheer for him, as you saw, it's the fans too, but what does it take to become a Houston Texans cheerleader? It's a lot more arduous than you might think.
The first time that I tried out for the Houston Texans cheerleaders, I was freshly 18 years old. I decided I wanted to try out. I registered, I did all the research, and I tried out twice and got told no both times. But someone's told me before, no doesn't mean never, it just means not right now. Four days after being cut for the second time, I got other opportunities, which led me through nursing school. And it wasn't until I took a year off and came back for the third time that I finally made the team.
I am so excited, and you're gonna hear me say that every single second because that is the only emotion in my heart right now, is I'm just excited for y'all to be here. I'm excited for this experience. It's gonna be an amazing day.
You're not sure if you're gonna make this team or not, but I just had confidence within myself. I just kind of picked up and left, told my dad I was gonna go try out. If I made it, I was gonna apply to University of Houston, and this is where I wanted to be. I wanna be out on the field, I wanna be out in the community representing the Houston Texans. This is something that my mom really wanted for me. With her passing away 6 years ago, this is what I wanted for myself, to be a professional cheerleader and just to finally get that chance to be out on the field and be out in the community and gaining sisters and sharing my love for something that I absolutely love so much. With 34 other girls, it's like no other. I think aside from the accomplishment of making the team, I'm almost more proud of the person I've become through the process. Being determined enough to do it no matter how many times it takes. And then finally being on the team, I've learned so much about myself and how to grow from other people, and it's not about you, it's the bigger picture all the time. And I honestly don't think that without the trials and tribulations that I've experienced through the process and then making the team, that I would be anywhere close to the person I am today. We definitely really are a sisterhood. These girls help me through literally any and everything. We do everything with each other, we support each other. And whether you've been here before or whether you're trying out for your first year, we definitely stand up and we support each other and we clap for you and we make you feel welcome when you're trying out to be in HTC.
First time making the team, tell me how you're feeling right now.
Hearing Coach finally call my name made every single moment of hard work more than worth it. The work is worth it. That's like the biggest thing that I still carry with me after all these years, is that if you haven't made it yet and you still want it so bad, don't give up on it. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to see myself in that uniform on the field in front of the best fans in the NFL with legendary red boots, and I wasn't going to stop until I got there. Definitely take that leap of faith and try out to be on this team, because you have so much to gain, but you have nothing to lose. My advice to someone trying out for the first time would be that if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to believe in you. So you kind of have to be your own rock. And for me, it was a long path, but it was a good path. And I don't think I ever would have stopped. And I don't plan on it, you know? If I could do it forever, I would.
Coming up, the Texans defense goes under the microscope. Stick with us. This is Texans 360.
Ball is out again. J.J. Watt. Rock and roll. Touchdown. Deshaun Watson.
The linebacker group on this team in 2019, it's a pretty eclectic bunch, a pretty versatile bunch. They can do a lot of different things. They're led by two inside linebackers in Bernard McKinney and Zach Cunningham that have been the leaders for this defense for the last 3 years. Cunningham in particular has turned into one of the better defensive players throughout the entire AFC. He covers backs out of the backfield. He stuffs gaps in the run. He runs down quarterbacks on scrambles. He does a little bit of everything. And then on the outside, you got a guy like Whitney Merciless, who just re-upped with the Texans, who will be here for the next 4 years. This group gives you a little bit of everything, and now in 2020, it's got to give a little bit more. They need a little bit more coming from the edge, rushing the quarterback, and they need to stop the run a little bit better than they did at certain times throughout the 2019 season. The possibilities are endless with this group. The speed, the size, those things are there. Now they got to put it all together in 2020 and become the defense that we know it can be with the names that I mentioned a little while ago.
Always interesting stuff from our good pal, John Harris. That's on HoustonTexans.com, the Houston Texans mobile app. We got more position breakdowns coming up in the weeks to come. Plus, he and we did a podcast earlier in the week, which you definitely want to watch on YouTube or listen to on HoustonTexans.com. Sean Pendergast of Sports Radio 610. Let's talk about that defense. Inside linebackers with Bernard McKinney, with Zach Cunningham. And when Dylan Cole comes back, looks like you got some pieces there for the future. It's a pretty exciting spot.
Yeah, it is. What I'm most interested to see, Drew, is does Zach Cunningham get a contract extension this offseason? And then what is the ripple effect of having that much invested in inside linebacker? Because Bernard McKinney is one of the higher paid guys on the team, and Zach Cunningham's going to wind up being one of the highest paid guys on the team. In this NFL, to have that much salary allocated to two kind of runs. I know Cunningham's a really good athlete too, but run stopping inside linebackers, what'll the ripple effect be? It'll be a strength of the team. At what cost, I think, is a big question. But yeah, and Dylan Cole coming in. Dylan Cole staying healthy would be really, really nice for this team.
Because he gives you a lot in the pass game.
Yes.
He really helps out in that regard.
Yep.
One of the big questions also is getting after the quarterback. Yeah. And up front, you got J.J. Watt coming back, and you think he's going to be fine. Yep. So added to that mix, you got Whitney Merciless out on the edge. Probably some sort of combo of Duke Ejiofor, Charles Omenihu, and Player X +2. There might be a few new additions up front. Pass rush needs to improve. How does it improve, though?
That's what I'm most interested to see with Anthony Weaver as the defensive coordinator, is what will be different about him versus Romeo Crennel. I think one of the things a lot of people don't realize about Anthony Weaver is while he's been an assistant coach under Romeo Crennel here these last few years, he really comes off the Rex Ryan tree. Yeah. That's the tree he comes off of.
He'd spin the dial.
Yeah, he played for Rex. I know just from my conversations with Weaver through the years, he is a huge fan of Rex Ryan and everything that he's about. And Rex Ryan was just a different type of coordinator than maybe Rack was in terms of his aggressiveness and stuff. So does Weaver channel some of that? Do they get players that kind of maybe fit that a little bit better versus what they've been doing? But if they're running with the crew they have now, the main ways they're going to get at the passer is J.J. Watt being great and Anthony Weaver getting more creative. Yeah. That's my thought on that.
And getting creative, you might see some of that with the safeties. And you got Justin Reed and Tashawn Gibson coming back. That's a pretty nice combo from what we saw when they were on the field. Really could have used Gibson in Kansas City at the end of the year. But you got building blocks there back at the back end of the defensive backfield.
Yeah, no question. Depth, we'll see. Does Jaleel Adai come back? He was on a one-year deal. But Justin Reed is the guy. Like, if you're doing a chart of who's the next Texan to make their first Pro Bowl,
he's chomping at the bit.
Yeah, Justin Reed might be the chalk for that kind of thing. Justin Reed has made 4 or 5 of the most important plays for the Texans in the last 2 seasons. Like, he's made plays that have won games for this team.
The pick six that went 100 yards.
Yeah.
The almost pick six that he bopped up to Whitney Merciless at Tennessee this year.
The stop against Jacksonville on the 2-point conversion. So there have been so many plays he's made. Yeah, Justin Reid is one of the real bright shining lights at that position, not just for this team, but in the league.
Speaking of bright shining lights, the Texans were a bright shining light in the community in 2019. We're going to look back at some of their best moments. Don't go anywhere. It's all next on Texans 360. Texans 360 rolls on from the Arctic Studios with Sean Pendergast and Drew Doherty. The Texans love doing great things in the community, don't they, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things that make you most proud to be a Texan fan, no doubt about it.
That's right. And 2019 was a banner year in that regard.
When we think about the Texans, it's always about doing great things for Houston. And I can't think of a better way to do that than ending hunger in our community.
We just want to let you know, as Houston Texans, we love everyone. We love all our fans. We love our community. And giving back is what we're all about.
We wrapped them and stuffed them all ourselves, so if the wrapping is bad, that was me. Is that a motorcycle? Yeah. Wow.
Going through this, I know I can do anything. The power of God, I can do anything too.
Can by can. Help somebody.
His name was Raymond. He reminded me a lot of my own son, and that was a cool moment for me.
It was important to me to be able to give back to the community, so I baked some cookies for each of the families along with the handwritten note.
So we thank you so much, and we're so grateful, and we love being a part of this.
There wouldn't be a Houston Texans without what all of you do, what the veterans have done. We thank you so much.
I'm not usually the one that gets to get opportunities like this. This is a blessing to me.
With an organization like the Houston Texans, teams felt seen and felt heard. And most importantly, they felt inspired to be the change for future generations.
And there's much more great things going on for the city of Houston at HoustonTexans.com on the community page, so go check that out. I know this guy checks it out all the time.
All the time.
I do too. It's always fun. So Sean, great having you on. You going to come do this again with us? So?
Of course. Anytime you ask, I will be here. Can't wait for a chance to do it again.
Writing that down. He will be back. Sean Pendergast, you are an MVP. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks to the guys behind the cameras doing all the work. Joe Pallas, Tyler Sudart, Tyler Marcotte, Mitchell Moreland, and Stephen Friedlander. We appreciate y'all coming on, and we will see you again next time. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.